We're here. Tonight I'm going to share with you my Paladin build. As always, this is my build. If you don't use the exact gear that I'm using right now, it's fine. We're probably going to have other ways to cap the Paladin stats as well. There's so many options, man. I can't really show all of the options here in the video. I'm gonna try to talk about some other armor that you can use, but again, if you switch one thing around, you're probably gonna have to switch another thing in the rings. You can switch another thing in the companions. You know, there's just so many ways to cap it. I think I'm gonna do a character builder videos, just playing around the app to show you guys how I do my builds. But yeah, let's start. Let's start the build. For the stats of the Paladin, I'm gonna be using Wisdom, which is mandatory for the outgoing healing. And the second stat is actually, you can choose between Charisma to give you Forte and Dexterity to give you critical severity. And I went with the Dexterity because of the critical severity. We needed the Paladin lacks a little bit of critical severity, so that's why I went that way. But if you go with the Forte, you will get a little more critical chance, and not only that, but you also get some divinity regen. It all depends on the companions you have, but for this build I'm using the Strke. For the gear, the headpiece that I'm using, it comes from the Master Demon Web Pits. It gives 5% critical strike. You could be using the Raincatcher, which you get from Vault of the Stars. You can be using the Serene Hood of the Dragon Hunter, which you get from the Dragon Hunts. You can use the new version of it that you get from the Master Demon Web Pits. It's a straight upgrade, do the same thing. You can use the one from MTOS, the Master Temple of Starfighter, that regain Infinity faster. Okay, that's my options for you. The options are helmets you can use on a Paladin. I do not recommend you use the Serene Hood of the Dragon Hunter or the new upgraded version of it, because it's on the Paladin. It's really hard to maintain those stacks. So technically, you're not gonna get 10% critical strike off of it. That's why I'm using this helmet here. It's just a static 5% critical strike. For the chest piece, I'm using the one from the Dragon Hunts that gives me outgoing healing and gives the ally some forte. Ideally, you want to be using the chest piece that comes from the Master Demon Web Pits. This is just a straight upgrade from this one, but it gives the same amount of outgoing healing, but it also gives 2% critical strike to the party members, and I don't know if it's a bug or not, it also gives you 2% critical strike. So ideally, you want to be using that. For the hand, I'm gonna use Sanity Meats of the Dragon Hunter. It comes from the Dragon Hunts as well. It gives us power. We lose a little bit of incoming healing, but it's fine. That's 7%, 7.5% power. It's a great buff worth of the reduction we're taking. For the weapons, I'm gonna be using the new ones that you get from Master Demon Web Pits, mostly because they are really high iron level. On the ratings, you can see there we get 250 damage, which translates for the healer more heals, and we also get 5% critical strike, 5% critical severity. That helps us build our character. For the boots, I'm using the one that you get from the Master Demon Web Pits. It gives in a party 5500 outgoing healing and forte. Now for the artifact set, guys, we continue with our philosophy of debuffing and buffing our team. Right now in the end game, supporters usually go for that. So normally as a paladin, you would use the Vistani. That's what I have it on, the Vistani set. The neck, waist, and the artifact set. That's an option. That's what the Paladin normally does. You're gonna proc the Vistani set with the At Will, Divine Fulmination. You usually also use the ring, the grace ring, but I don't have it right now. If the tank, I don't know if I'm blessed or not, but I have a tank that runs Vistani and the Grace. So if you have a friend tank that is using that artifact already, you can either go with the Tiamat set to help you out to get more 5% outgoing healing. To get a, that's what I recommend. Or you can even go with the Apocalypse set. You just have to play it differently. Because with the Vistani, you just, where am I? With the Vistani, you just stay away of the target and use the Divine Fulmination, and you proc in the Vistani. You see right there, the debuff icon. It's the same symbol of the artifact. Every time they fix it recently, so you can keep on attacking. They're gonna keep on refreshing. If you play up, if you the tank is using Vistani, and you wanna still help the team, you're not gonna help any further by using another Vistani. You can go change to the outgoing healing from the Tiamat set, or you can use the Apocalypse set. The thing is, for the Apocalypse set, you're gonna have to be melee, because the Apocalypse set, it stacks 5 times. You have to hit the target 5 times. To do it fast, therefore you're gonna use the Valor Strike. You're gonna use that to proc the Apocalypse set. It's usable, you just have to play it differently. Every critical strike that you do will proc 1 stack of the Apocalypse set. The same goes for the Metalist set. You can use the Metalist set, which is way high item level, but you have to play it differently, which you also might have to change some things around, as you will see. As I said before, normally you would go with the Grace as well, the Grace rank to debuff. I don't have it here on the Paladin. I'm working on it. Right now I have the Opal Abyssal Loop. It gives me outgoing healing. And if you see the equipping bonus, it increases my healing by 7.77%. It goes over the cap, okay? If so, right now my outgoing healing is capped at 90, but this goes beyond that. I get a little more heal using this ring. For the other ring, I'm using Glow Restoration ring. It's a pretty cheap ring. You have to buy an actual house around 300,000 AD. It gives me 5% outgoing healing. For the shirts, it's very cheap shirt. Give 5% outgoing healing. And the pants, I'm using the new one that you get from the heroic encounters of the new campaign, Demon Web Pits. It gives us 5% power and 5% defense whenever one teammate. You just have to be away from one teammate to get this buff. It's a little confusing, the buff, but it works. You just have to be away from one. Right now I don't have none teammates, so I'm actually getting the buff. It's Herald's Decree, you see there. And like I said before, if you're using Apocalypse, you're probably gonna have to play it differently. You're probably gonna be together with the whole group, so you might not see that buff proccing that often. So you may have to change those spans. For the artifacts, the main artifact is gonna be the Halaster Blast Scepter. This is mandatory, guys. The way I see it's mandatory. No DPS wants to use that because it's so low item level, but this is really one of the strongest artifact debuffs that we have in the game right now. It's 50% damage and resistance reduction for the enemy. The healer gotta use it. We gotta take the L. If the DPS I'm not using because it's low item level, we gotta take the L and use it, unfortunately. For the other artifacts, you use whatever you have. I have the Dragonbone Blades, Demogorgon, and of course the Torroka deck for completed the Vistani set. For my enchantments, I'm using 3 Jades and 1 Garnet on an offense, and in utility I'm using Cobalt. The defensive ones, you use what you have, it doesn't make a difference here. I just pretty sure when I made my character, just made 3 of each just to switch things around if I need it. For the overloads, I usually go with it. Get out of the combat here because I think I'm wasting my overloads. I'm using The White Dragon Glyph, it gives some additional healing on top of what I have on top of my cap. And for the new dungeon, you're gonna use Demon Ward. If you're missing the critical strike, you can go with Devil's Precision, and use whatever ward you want to protect yourself, your team. The Demon Ward is really good in the Demon Ward pits because you kind of inflict the ward on the boss and the demon boss, and all the allies benefit from that when you heal them. For my combat enchantment, I'm using Mythical Light Flash, and for the bonus, I'm using Recharge Speed 1. You can use movement speed as well. And if you thinking about using mythical, the Refulgent, I think is the name, Refulgent combat enchantment, to give the tank a little more survivability. I think it's 5% damage reduction and 15% movement speed. I don't think it's useful because it only procs from single power, single target heals, and you only have, just a couple in the Paladin. You can either healing with the at-will, the cure ones, and the other one is the tap power that you have. And to be honest, 5% is not going to save his life. And if the tank needs saving, with you putting a big shield on his head, man, I don't know, he's probably has the wrong build. He probably has the wrong build. The Paladin, the good thing about the Paladin is that he gives an extra health, so we don't need to give more, don't need to give more damage reduction to the tank. I would only use it if it was very high, very high, very end game, very hard content, and you have a lot of money to spare, then you can buy it to use it, but I wouldn't recommend. For the powers, I'm gonna be using Divine Fulmination to proc the Vistani. If you're using Apocalypse set, you're gonna have to use the Valorous Strike. And with that, I'm also using Cure Wounds. I actually use this at will a lot because you have to, instead of just recasting, it's much cheaper to do the at will than recast the Divine Shelter and other healers that you have. Most of the time, I use the Sacred Weapon, Divine Shelter, and Circle of Divinity. I know Circle of Divinity gives me outgoing healing, but I can't really build around that because it has a really high cooldown, not so great uptime then. So I don't build around that. It just happens to have it, but we don't get benefit from that. If you don't use when you doing the dungeon, you can also run with the burning light to stun the enemies. You can also use the banishment to stun the enemies. It's the same thing. And you can also use divine touch, but you have to aim to the for the you have to aim to heal the people. And if you hit more than one people, the magnitude is going to be divided between them. So that's why I don't really use it. I stick with the Divine Shelter because I want to heal the whole party. And when I have to heal the tank, I use my tab power. For the dailies, we don't have a lot of good dailies. I usually run Shoot of Faith, Lay of Hands, or Sanctuary. Okay, they are all very situational. All very situational. Lay of Hands is just if you know that the tank, for example, is gonna take a big hit, and you might not be ready to protect him with the shield. So this is a little bit reactive. You can only use it after the person takes damage. So nah. Let's just say for example in a new dungeon, you just got hit by the spider. The spider is stunning you. The tank takes the big hit. He almost dies, and the spider goes off of your face. You want to heal the tank fast, you use that. That's one situation. You're gonna use Shoot of Faith to try to heal more. Everybody's gonna get some reduction in damage taken, and you're gonna get some heals on it. I wouldn't use that on the axe phase, because the things the axe phase on the third boss of the Master Demon Lab pits, it's a divinity consume. It consumes a lot of divinity. So I usually go with Sanctuary because when I ran out of Divinity, I used Sanctuary, and I tried to save up a little of Divinity to do that. So you heal as much as you can in the axe phase with Divine Shelter. You just wait for the poison, go through the shield, go through the health, and use the Divine Shelter. You're gonna start ticking faster. When you see that you cannot do anything else and you're gonna run out of Divinity, you go for the Sanctuary. Of course, people will have to stick together for this to work. So again, very situational. For the class features, I went with Composure and used the Hour of the Restoration to give the players a little more incoming healing so my heals are stronger. For the feats, the first feat, it depends on the end game. Of course, you want to use that, but if you're starting as a Paladin, you can run Critical Touch. What this does is whenever you use an encounter such as Divine Shelter, sometimes you're gonna see it blink. You get some flashy animation on it, and you after that, when you cast it, when you cast another encounter power, it will be a critical hit. So it will critically heal, and it heals more. But in the end game, if you're capping critical chance, there's no point running that. So I run Shelter Healing that gives more heals to my at will. As you can see there, normally you would heal 275. With the feat, it heals for 650, which is a great improvement. It helps a lot. So the DPS will take a hit. You're gonna put the shield back on. Okay, he's not topped up. You're gonna use that will. Use that will. That's how we're gonna do it. For the other feat, you're gonna go with Endure Spirit for more Divinity regen. There's no questions asked about that. For the other one, you can go either one. Divine Intervention, we just put another layer of survivability on the daily lay on hands. So not only it will heal the target, but it also raise a barrier on top of it. If you go Convalescence, the Shield of Faith, whenever you use it, you're gonna stop putting shields and gonna start, just pure healing. The shield that you would put, it's gonna be converted on health. So I guess you can use it, but the thing is, for example, during the poison phase and the axe, it's kind of the same thing because you put the shields on, they're gonna go through the shields, go through the life. It's the same thing, raising a shield or not healing or healing at all. It's the same thing. That's why I use Divine Intervention. For the last perk, last feat, I'm gonna use any sort of warding. This is the best one, increase the effectiveness of flame barriers. For the boons, for the stronghold boons, I'm using the Chiller Revive Sickness. If you're playing easier content, you can just go movement speed, or if you're doing campaigns, you can do. You're not gonna use that. You're not gonna use a healer on the campaigns though, so forget about it. Uh, for the defense, you can use whatever you have here. I'm using the common healer to kind of counter fact that I'm using the gloves. And for defensive, I'm using critical strike. You can go critical severity, you can go power if you need it. For the campaign boons, go to the obvious choice. Always pick power, critical strike, power, critical severity, power. Yeah, you can start go for another boons such as movement speed. Movement speed down here, just the basic. On the tier 5, you're gonna go with the Forte for more critical severity, for more critical chance, a little more critical chance, and Definite Regen. I'm gonna go with Outgoing Healing, and for the boons, I'm using Blasted Advantage here. I'm gonna take that off actually. I'm gonna put the Blast Resilience. I didn't know I was using that, to be fair. Blast Resilience is what you need to understand here is the Blast Advantage is more towards the DPS. You're gonna help the DPS, and the Blast Resilience is more towards helping the tank. So that's the difference between the two, basically. For the companions, I actually build around the Portobello because it gives 3.5% power. If you don't have it, it's fine. You're just gonna have to change some things around. No problem. And it gives not only for me, but for the whole group 3.5 power and 3.5 combat advantage. Other companions you can use here to support the group are, Tutor,
Was that
you
your
can
best
use
attempt?
Dritz,
Let's try
you can use
again.
Pine Devil,
troubled.
you can use Dedicated Spire if you're
Foes
struggling
aren't
with the
worthy of our
heals.
steel.
Just normally go Tutor
Some
or
things you learn from
Portobello.
books, others you
It's
learn
fine.
from
It is
action.
For the
I,
equipment, I'm
Portobello da
using.
Vinci.
I think this one comes from the Dragonborn Veil campaign. I think it gives outgoing healing cultural resistance. It's not the ideal. Ideally, you want 3 of those. It comes from the North Dark Reaches. You're gonna have to farm those. You don't actually have to do MTOS to get those. You just have to do the campaign. It gives outgoing healing, critical strike, using the companion enhancement. And for the companion enhancement, I'm using dual senses to debuff the enemy. Okay, this is a little controversial here. It depends on how you think it. Because I'm using the Paladin, because my at-will of attack is the Divine Fulmination, I don't attack as often as I would using, like, for example, Valor's Strike, or like other DPS classes or healer classes such as the Cleric that can attack really fast, or the Warlock that can attack very fast. So if you feel like you're not proccing this one, you can just go with something to buff you. Precision that gives 7.5 critical chance. You can go Potent Precision, give you 7.5 critical severity. You can go Potency, gives power. If I had to recommend one to buff you, it would be the Reinvigorate, because for the same reasons you don't proc the ones that debuff the enemy, you're not gonna proc the ones that you need to hit the enemy to get. So you might as well stick with the healing one. Once you heal the targets, every time you cast Divine Shelter, you are healing 5 people. So you're gonna proc Reinvigorated very often. So you can use that. For the Companion's bonus, I'm using the Golden Bullet as my defensive power. The offensive power is Dritz Devastation. And Universal is Raptor. Raptor is mandatory, guys. It gives like 19% power. I'm gonna use also the Fawn Instincts that gives critical strike and power, and the Kenku Archer Wisdom that gives power and critical severity. There are a bunch of companions you can use. Unfortunately, the only thing here that is kind of expensive here is the Golden Bullet. We don't have many options to put into place. But again, if you don't have the Golden Bullet, a quick fix of this is just, go back here and use the Reinvigorate. It's 7.5. It's 7.5 outgoing healing, and it can go and remove that 7.5. See, it's gonna be the same thing. You can use another thing. It's gonna open up a space, and you can use, critical chance, critical severity, whatever you have. We have some other companions that give things that we need. For example, the Ghost. The Ghost will give you power, critical chance. We have like a Babe Dip Crow will give you power. We have the Alpha Compy that give you power. You'll have the Quickling. The Quickling it's another outgoing healing companion. It's the second best outgoing healing one, because it's the only one that gives you 2 offensive stats. It gives outgoing healing and critical chance. This is another option as well. Quite expensive though, and it only comes on green. For the mounts, using whatever the group needs. I can use T-Rex, I can use Pegasus for the debuff, I can use Eclipse, I can use Swarm for the equip power, same thing. I can usually go Mystic Aura, I can use Runic Aura, I can use like Pack Tactics, no problem. And it's just, again, same philosophy to help up buff the team, debuff the enemy, same thing. For my insignia bonus, I'm gonna go with the Shepherd Devotion with the Drider form, and Shepherd Devotion, Lionheart's Perseverance, Gladiator's Goal for more movement speed, Magistrate's Patience. Guys, I'm not using another. I'm waiting on another 4 mount slot to get this bonus. This bonus is really good. I keep on saying that on every video I make. Every time you receive a critical strike damage, you receive a boost to the defense, and the teammates get it also. The thing is, the healing, when you crit with your healing, it counts as a critical strike damage. So you're gonna keep constantly putting defensive boosters to your team while using this buff. You're gonna see, I'm gonna proc it here. I procced it, you see? I got critically healed, I got Magistrate Patient on. This is a really nice buff. And the other mount is the Mendel's Covenant, gonna give me some ratings like critical strike, critical severity, outgoing healing and power, all the things I need. And that's it, guys. That's it. As I said, I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of ways you can do your build. You just have to switch things around depending on what you have, man. I'm gonna try to make a builder video and to show you some of the possibilities that we can do. Okay, I forgot to say that this build also is gonna be using the squash soup and the flask of potency. The flask of potency is really cheap. You're gonna be you can make it yourself or buy in the actual house the stack for like 20,000 AD. It's gonna be fine. You're also gonna get you also have to use where's that? The Wildstorm Elixir. The Wildstorm Elixir. It will give you 5% more critical severity and a couple of ratings on critical strike. Yeah, the sad thing is the squash soup. It's a little expensive, but you know, we just got out of the summer festival. I hope you farmed so you can get your squash soup for free. If you didn't farm, it's fine. You can actually try to buy some stacks right now because they are cheaper than usual right now. So yeah, it's a good time to do it. I think that's it. I hope I didn't forget anything. So if you have any questions, doubts, just leave in the comment section. And that's it. See you later, guys.
プレイステーション